88.5 JFM, the Lifeline Morning Show. I'm Steven. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. So, I don't know if you got to witness what happened on Saturday, but come on. The Healer Tour with Casting Crowns, so good. And you know what? Mark Hall was here with me in studio on Saturday. First time ever we've had a big artist here at the JFM studios. I'm just so grateful he was here, able to kind of spend some time with us, tell us, what we could expect that night. But I asked him to stay with me for a little while longer so I could ask him a few more questions. And he said, sure, we've got time. So, Mark, thanks again, man. I really do appreciate it. And so I know that with all of these songs that you guys sing, and I don't know, how many of these songs do you guys write? Is it a pretty big ratio? Do you write most of your songs?
Yeah, we write all of them.
All of your songs. Okay. So then these come from life experiences. They come from different avenues, different areas of your life, because you're doing life just like we are. So I wonder, could you tell us a little bit about some of the inspiration behind some of the songs you've been singing lately?
Well, when I first started writing music, I was in Bible college, and I couldn't believe that I even went to Bible college. I was at Graceville, Florida. That's just south of Dothan, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up going to all the LD classes in school. That's what they called it back then. I don't know what they call it now. But I couldn't keep up with everybody else, so I had to go to a different class. I'm dyslexic and ADD, so I had a hard time with school, had a really hard time reading. And then when church happened, my dad got saved. We all went to church. The first thing I noticed about church was everybody was carrying around a book. And I just thought, awesome, just great, and because I was finally going to have a new group of people that I could try to impress and be cool for. And they're just going to know I'm that kid, So I wouldn't take my Bible to church. I would take it into church because my mom made me. And then I would hide it somewhere because I was just scared they were going to make me read. So that's where I was. And when I finally started getting into the Word for myself, I was probably about 19 and I had hit dark. Built my life around a girl, and the girl left. And when you build your life around a person and the person's not there anymore, you don't have a life anymore. The movies don't tell you that. All the love songs don't tell you that. So there I was, and in some of the darkest moments, I just decided I need to know what Jesus thinks about me. I know what girls think. I know what school thinks. I know what the bullies think. I know what everybody else thinks. And I finally started getting into Scripture for me. That was the first time I'd ever really done that. I'd only really read the Bible because that's what you do when you're at church. That's what everybody does. Then you go home and you don't anymore. So suddenly I just needed to know. And when I started reading the Scripture for myself, I started seeing that man, the Bible's full of people just like me. Maybe worse, right? It's like God wasn't afraid of anybody. Nobody was too much for Jesus. Nobody was not quite enough for Jesus. And I always felt like I just wouldn't be enough. When the preachers would talk about, get out there and take a stand and people need to hear your story and your testimony, I would hear it and I would believe it, just not for me.
Wow.
I would just think, man, that's awesome. Somebody is really going to be able to step out there and do that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even realize I'd done that. I just sort of just crossed myself off the list. I just took myself off the list for God.
Wow.
So he wouldn't have to say no,
Wow.
And it was in those moments of discovering that God loved me just like I was, and I was here on purpose, that I really started leaning into God's word. So I started feeling like God wanted me to do something in church, and I didn't know what it was. But I sang with my dad in church all the time, so I thought maybe it's doing music in church. So I go off to Bible college to do this, and I was so excited about it. There are a lot of things I didn't think about, like I don't read music at all.
Yeah,
it never even occurred to me that I didn't read music.
Yeah.
I was just so excited about getting there and doing something. I'm going to major in music and don't read music. So the very first day of college, we had to do this placement test so they could figure out where you were musically, because the music majors out of college are usually musicians, right? Mm-hmm. So I literally signed my name to the top of the test and turned it in just so they would know I was there, because I didn't have any answers.
Yeah.
That's how I started my big step of faith. And it was a 45-minute drive to my house from school. And basically every time I left Bible college, I was quitting Bible college. So I'm like, I'm done with this, and why am I even here? God, why did you make me do this? Why did you put this in my head? Because I was failing class. I was there for 6 years, at that 4-year college. It was during that time, those long drives from Graceville, Florida to Samson, Alabama, when I started writing these songs, not even really knowing I was writing, because I was just kind of whining in the car and complaining and praying. And then I'd listen to worship music, and then I'd complain some more and listen to worship music. And somewhere in there, I started kind of singing my prayers. And my teenagers were the very first people to really hear any of those. And that's where it started. So it was me working out my faith, right?
Yeah.
Because you'll notice if you listen to my songs, a lot of my songs kind of start in the dark, because that's kind of where I start. I tend to see the giant first before I see God in it, right?
Yeah.
So I come to God with my feelings. And I didn't even really notice this about my writing until recently. So I come to him with how I feel, but then I have to go to his word, and I have to let God tell me the truth about my feelings, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it comes together. God can handle me. I don't have to be somebody else for him. I just come to him like I am. But now I've got to let his word talk to me about it. And I've got to follow him out of the little holes that I dig for myself. So those beginning songs like Voice of Truth, that song was called Fear when I first wrote it.
Wow.
Because that's how I felt.
Yeah.
That was the name of the song. And I got to finish it with Stephen Curtis Chapman. And now it's called The Voice of Truth. East to West was me dealing with God's forgiveness and trying to understand forgiveness. Praising the Storm is being in a dark time and not understanding why God didn't show up the way I wanted him to.
Yeah.
What does that look like? And that's probably one of the biggest things we talk about in our songs, is we talk a lot about what happens when you desperately ask for God to show up a certain way and he doesn't show up that way.
Yeah.
A lot of times when he doesn't show up the way we wanted him to, we start thinking maybe he just didn't show up. And then in my little people mind, I got to make sense of that. And I'm going to tell myself either he doesn't care or he's not there. Yeah. There's no other way to really think about it in the flesh, right?
Right.
But when I start coming to God with that, just honestly, and then I let his word talk to me, I see the Bible is full of moments that people of faith, giants of the faith, like Paul, who wrote 2/3 of the Bible, of the New Testament,
right,
asked God for healing for 3 times about the same thing. And God said to him, no, my grace is going to be sufficient for you. And my power is going to be made perfect in that weakness. The thing that you want me to remove, I'm going to let it stay there. And it's going to keep us close. It's going to keep you depending on me. And I'm going to walk you through, and you're going to look back and you're going to see this. Wow. And that's so huge. That was never in my head, that God could use something that was bad and use it for good. So with this new record, The Healer, I felt like in 2020, we really showed ourselves. Yeah. I mean, it was a dark time for our country, and all the stuff that was under the surface came out in so many ways. And the healing that so many of us were praying for wasn't showing up the way we wanted. And so I set out, not on purpose, but as I look back, that's what the songs all ended up being about, was the fact that healing always happens. God always shows up. He's never not shown up. There's an English teacher, great sentence. He always shows up. We've just got to let God open the eyes of our heart to show us how he's working, because he's always working. So Scars in Heaven is about when healing comes a different way, and God heals them by taking them home with him. That's a really big song.
Yeah.
I'd say most of the people that come to our concerts right now are coming for that song.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's got to be something else too, to see these people responding to the music like they are, because we all have our stories, and a lot of people kind of put you guys as artists up on a pedestal and think, oh, they've really got it all together. Oh, look at them, that kind of thing. But they don't understand, y'all. I mean, seriously, you're people just like we are.
Yeah. You're
just using your gift in a particular way, and you're really inspiring a lot of people.
Yeah. The whole famous thing, it's this weird little myth. All famous really means is that you know a lot about somebody, but you've never met them.
Wow.
Because the moment you meet them, and you talk to them for a while,
Yeah.
what do you leave saying? Oh, they're just like a normal person. Exactly.
He's really down to earth.
Exactly. No one. That's who they are. So, you could be walking around in Target and go, hey, that's the girl that works at Chili's. I know her. It's the same kind of thing. It's
Right.
It's like I'm not used to seeing you here. So one of the things we do on the stage, and you, if you were at the concert the other night, you can check my oil on that because you know what happened. I'm gonna spend a lot of the time in that concert making sure we're a bunch of dorks up here. we're not killing it at life. We're bumping our head on life every day. When I'm on the stage, I'm thinking about men. I'm always going to pick out about 6 men in the crowd because I know that most men at our concerts are probably there because they love their wives. That's probably why they're there, right?
Yeah, I got you.
And their boyfriends and husbands, and they're just coming, And so, men, if you're going to talk to me about something I need to do better, you better talk to me about how you're not doing it good too. You don't come to me and tell me how I need to live, and that's just man pride, right?
Right, yeah.
So I know I got to knock those walls down to start with. So usually early on, we're going to talk about me being the slow kid. We're going to talk about me messing up on life all the time, and we're going to wash all that away and just have a level playing ground so we can talk about a God who loves you anyway.
Yeah.
A God that doesn't love you because you're good. Our God loves you because he's good. That's a whole new website, man. That's a whole new world right there. And that's what I need people to do. I don't need them to be impressed with me. That doesn't do anything for them. It doesn't do anything for you to meet somebody better than you. You just go home thinking, man, I'm less. So you got to see Jesus.
Yeah.
So we're going to tear ourselves to pieces just to make sure you see that Jesus is the one that goes home with you.
I love that you focus on guys too, because I can tell you with Christian radio, they'll tell you the demographic is mainly female from 25 to 55.
Yeah.
That's our main audience in contemporary Christian radio. But to be able to focus in on those guys is so important because lots of times they're kind of left behind,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. Thank you for telling us a little bit about the inspiration behind these songs. I know we've all had struggles. You've had struggles specifically. I mean, you had a cancer scare and stuff going on with your voice and all kinds of things. But here you are, still doing what you love and still inspiring people. That's huge, man.
I appreciate it, bro.
Yes, sir. All right. So I guess maybe we'll do one more segment, talk a little bit about how to make it in Christian music. Let's talk a little bit about the industry. Can we do that?
Sure, man.
Cool. 88.5 JFM, the Lifeline Morning Show. I'm Steven. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. We're continuing our conversation with Mark Hall of Casting Crowns, and want to talk a little bit about the industry, the music industry. There's this whole other side of stuff. There's ministry, there's industry. How do the two combine? How does somebody who's out there doing ministry right now, who wants to take it to the next level and do it as a profession, how do they make that leap?
Whew, that's a tough one.
Right?
I say it's a tough one. I say it's easier now than it's ever been.
Okay.
Because years ago, the only way to ever get heard was to be signed to a record label.
Yeah.
And that was the goal, was to be signed to a label so you can get on the radio and people hear your music. But in the last several years, there's a lot of ways to hear music. It's everywhere. It's all over media. So the idea of being signed to a label, I think, is not as crucial now to do what you do because you can release your music anywhere. Facebook is huge. There's all those social media outlets out there that you can do. A record label, what do you call it? A recording contract?
Yeah.
is not always what it seems like it is. Like a recording contract is basically a loan. All right. The company is going to say, we love your music. So what we're going to do is you're going to sign this contract and we're going to pay for you to record your music. We're going to pay for you to have it made into CDs, whatever those are now, right?
Right.
So
digital downloads.
We're going to get you into the record store that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
But so we're going to have all that done. We're going to do promotion for you, and it's going to cost $100,000, right?
Yeah.
So you sign a contract, and they give you that, and now you have to go out and you have to tour. And you have to pay all of that back, right? So you have to pay all of that back before you see anything from it. If making a living is what the goal is for you.
Yeah.
So most bands that you see on the road, they're not making it rain. That's a myth, right? Okay. So most people are living off their T-shirts and their merch.
Yeah.
So because they're still having to pay off the record. They call it recouping, right? So unless you just blow up, you're going to spend a lot of time having to pay off the record, which makes it really expensive to travel. And since digital media has taken off, labels have even started trying to get a piece of that as well. So they want a part of your merch sales too. And then there's management and there's all those things. So for me, man, I would say do it on your own as long as you can.
Gotcha.
And just get out there and serve. Now, we're not the, it'd be hard to compare because it was just a freak, crazy Jesus thing that happened with us. Because it wasn't really something we were chasing down.
Yeah.
It was something that God kind of brought to us. And then when the record came out, it just exploded, which is really rare. So there's not anything I can tell you to do that makes that happen. But I can just tell you what we did. And that is, I don't believe that there's any next level to the church. I believe the church is the point. And if you're a musician, you need to be serving in your church. You need to be pouring into your church. You need to be pouring into younger people to play what you play, not building the church around your talent, but investing in people and pouring it into them and multiplying yourself. I don't think there's anything bigger than that. Wow. The song "If We Are the Body" was our first single. That song was 8 years old when Mark Miller heard it to sign us to a label. We just been singing it to our youth group because that was the point. And for us, that's still the point. That's still what we're doing. We're still pouring into the church every week. To me, I understand making a living from it is important. But the very center and the roots of everything you're doing has got to be about making disciples, not making music, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't called to make music. I was called to make disciples. And you make disciples by walking with Jesus and taking people with you. That's how you do it. And the moment that stops becoming the core of what you're doing, it's going to come off the rails sooner or later. So for me, I say there's no next level to the church. Still say that.
Yeah, I got you. It sounds like it's all about serving. Really comes down to it. Serving your church, being there to minister, making disciples. Thank you so much for that. Because a lot of people, they're thinking, when's my big break going to happen? What kind of venue do I need to book next? It's a local church. I need to go to a bigger church next. Do I need to do a lock-in at a fifth quarter after a football game for a youth group? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
So you're just saying, keep doing what you love, and it may come. We just got to keep serving. Right?
You got to keep serving.
Gotcha.
and working bivocational.
Gotcha.
That's what I did the whole time.
Okay.
So that's a big deal. But I would also say that this doesn't just go for musicians. We're all called to missions. We're all called to ministry. In your ministry, a lot of times you think at church that ministry is that thing that they do up on a stage. And we just all come and sit down and watch them do ministry. But ministry is just what you do. So what your talents are, what your gift is, what you're able to do, what you say is, all right, God, this is what I can do. I fix cars. How can I point people to Jesus with this?
Yeah.
You show me how, and it's yours. I teach, or I work on computers. How can I point people to Jesus with this? Because all of us have ministry. All of us work with people and serve with people that the preachers aren't going to get to. And the sooner that we all see that everything we do, we're called to ministry while we do it, man, this world start changing.
Wow. That's good stuff. Thank you so much for that, Mark. All right. So I guess we're going to wrap it up here. I'm going to play a little music from Casting Crowns now. Hope you really enjoyed. Again, thanks so much, Mark, for carving out some time. This has really meant the world to me and to our listeners. I really appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, bro.
All right. 88.5 JFM, the Lifeline Morning Show. I'm Steven. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Got Mark Hall of Casting Crowns, and we're talking a little bit about the band, sure, about the tour, yeah.
Yeah.
But what about Mark?
What
about
makes
Mark?
him tick?
Exactly. Yeah. What do you love to do as a hobby? I know you like to sing, but besides that, what do you love to do?
Love to do? Well, I'm a bit of a comic book nerd, so I like to collect the big comics.
Right.
That's a big one. I like to play tennis.
Okay.
Tennis is fun, and playing with my grandbaby right now, Lincoln. That's pretty awesome.
Oh,
Pretty awesome.
that is cool.
Yeah, that's probably my 3.
So, have you gotten into the whole pickleball craze? Because everybody's been swapping from tennis to pickleball.
It's really messing up my tennis game. I'll tell you that right now. Because my daughter Zoe and my daughter Hope have gotten into pickleball. They love playing. So It's basically like standing on a ping pong table. But if you play tennis, it's going to mess your game up a little bit. But,
Gotcha.
But as you get older, it's way easier to play pickleball.
Yeah.
Way easier.
I've been noticing it exploding around here. Over in Scottsboro, we reach over there with our FM signal. They have just started building a new pickleball court. It's a whole facility devoted to just pickleball.
Pickleball.
It's big, man.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it really is. So, talking about your comic book obsession, let's talk a little bit about some of the furniture that you keep around your office. I got to come over and visit you a few years ago. I was working with a local author. His name is Dwayne Moore. We were doing Pure Praise for Youth. You were doing a video, like different videos for the series. I was over there shooting that, and that's when I got to meet you. But some of the stuff you had in your office was just amazing. Full-size replicas of like Iron Man and Captain America and all this stuff. Tell me, do you still keep that kind of stuff around?
I've been through several phases.
Yeah?
Like years ago, it was Star Wars. So I had a friend that designed things for movies. So we would design these desks. So I had a desk that was Han Solo in carbonite under glass.
Wow.
And that was my desk. And I had a life-size Darth Vader over here and all kind of stuff. And so I'd build up a collection, and then I would sell it off for like World Vision or whatever ministry we were working with. And so the next desk I had was the Avengers desk.
Right.
And it looked like a vault. So it had like Iron Man's helmet and Thor's hammer and all this kind of stuff inside of it. So now I've got a Captain America desk. It's a little more low key.
Okay.
But
not quite Loki, but low key.
Not low
Okay,
key.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But low key.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
We just had to make sure we were good there.
That's 2 different worlds. 2 different universes.
Yes, it is. Awesome. Well, hey, playing with the grandkid, let me just ask you, have you heard some of the nursery rhymes and some of the like the little baby bum videos and all the little videos they have out there for kids now?
No.
Some of the music that our kids are listening to, you've had to have heard of Baby Shark. Baby Shark.
That's been around forever.
It has. It's been around for a while. I know it got real big when my little girl, she's 8 now. When she was little,
it wasn't
was
baby stuff with me. It was youth group.
Yeah.
Man, you get in the youth group, you get in a van with a bunch of teenagers, and then one kid starts, Baby Shark. I'm like, I'm going to pull over here and just whoop them all.
That's become the Lamb Chops play along. This is the song that never ends. Yeah.
My kids sing that song so much that being a songwriter, I wrote an end to the song that never ends. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a song that never ends. It just goes on, my friend. Some people started singing it, not knowing what it was, and now they keep on singing it forever just because this is the song that never ends. Yeah.
Wow.
I wrote that.
Really?
As a ministry.
That is
to every parent in the world.
Very well received.
Now,
sir.
turn it into a high kick moment at the end, and it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I just need to write a finish to the shark one.
Whenever you do that, please let me know.
I will.
We'll air it here on the radio, so we'll help all of those parents out.
We'll write a song, and it'll go aluminum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not platinum.
Not platinum. Tin, copper. Palladium.
Tinfoil.
Oh, what's that stuff that Tony Stark uses to keep his... What's that?
Adamantium.
Adamantium. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, we're going to geek out here for a second. But thank you for just letting us get to know you a little bit better, because we see you on stage, we hear your voice all the time, but really getting to know the guy who's singing all these songs is special. So thank you.
Thanks, my bro.
All right.